looked at lists, and from what we learned, a list allows us to store multiple items in a single container. But there are four of such containers. We have list and three other containers like that allow us to store multiple items in a single container. List is just one of the four. So let's look at one of the four again tonight. Another one of the four. This is called dictionary. Now when you want to create a dictionary in Python, you know, for lists, we make use of square braces. But for dictionary, you make use of curly braces. That's the first difference between the two of them. List is square braces, dictionary is curly braces. Secondly, let's talk about the normal English language dictionary or not any dictionary. When you are searching for something in a dictionary, what do you use? You search for the key, then the meaning will be in front of it, right? Maybe I want to search for meaning of, let's say, recursion. So I will open my dictionary to where recursion is. That is the key. Then the meaning of recursion will be at the front of it. It's the same concept here. We have a key, then we have the value of that key. Let's say this is person, or this is student. So let's say this is student. In this dictionary, this student can have a name. This is for the key. You put the key in quotes. Then followed by the value. Note the difference between the key and the value. The key and the value, they are separated with colon. The one at the left hand side of the colon is the key, while the one at the right hand side of the colon is the value. Let's say age. This is another key and this is another value. Look at the concept. Curly braces, a key, colon, the value, followed by a comma, a key, colon, the value. So this comma separates each key value pair. This is called a key value pair, a key and its value. This is a pair. Then another key and its value. This is another pair. So we use a comma to separate key value pairs. Any questions so far? So let's assume we want to display Taye. So what I'm going to do is that I say print student, then back to the concept of dictionary I said the other time. We know we use the key. We use the key to fetch the value. So I'll say colon name. Like this. So this is going to print Taye for me. This is going to print Taye. So let's run it together. So if I want to see 10, I can say so this is going to print 10 from. We can also add more key value pairs in our dictionary. Let's add more. We can say student. If I want to add more, I have the option of coming here and say comma, then add another key, colon, the value. But instead of doing this, I can also do it here, like this. Mention the name of the dictionary, in this case, student. The key of interest, let's say the department, I want it to be department. So let's say I want to set the department of the student to computer science. So what it's going to do is that it's going to insert a key in this dictionary called department, and the value of that key will be computer science. This is like coming here to say comma. Do you understand now?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So sometimes
Excuse me, if you want to confirm that that key has been added, how do we confirm?
you can print out the student, the old dictionary. So when we print out the old dictionary, we will see it there.
Oh, okay.
So let's press it. Then let's say we want to just return. The dictionary also has some functions, some inbuilt methods. You may want to get maybe all the keys in a dictionary. You make use of the keys. That is the name of your dictionary dot keys. Let's say I want to get all the keys in my dictionary. I can say.
Yeah, what you said.
I said if you want to get all the keys in our dictionary,
Okay.
name is a key, age is another key, department is another key. So what we're going to do is that we mention the dictionary's name. Then we now say dot keys. Dot keys. This is going to print out all the keys in our dictionary. In the same sense, if you're also interested in getting the values in our dictionary, we say dot values. This is going to print out all the values in the dictionary. Now let's know something. You know, when we dealt with lists, I mentioned that let's say I have a list that looks like this. You see, this list is different from this list. That is, the position of the item in a list really matters, because when it's time to retrieve items in a list, we make use of the position, we make use of the index. If I want to see 10, I'll say A index 0. If I want to see 12, I'll say A index 1. If I want to see 8, I'll say A index 2. That means if the position of this 8 should change from here to another place, it has affected that list. Like, it's not the same list. But for a dictionary, position does not matter. That means if this is taken out of this place to this place, it's the same thing. Considering that when it's time to retrieve the values in a dictionary, you make use of the key. If I still want to see Taye, I'll still have to say student square brackets name. Meaning that whether the position, whether this name is at the front or is at the back, it doesn't make any difference, because the values will still be accessed the same way. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So these are some of the methods in a dictionary. We also have the items. Items returns both the key and the values.
Can you repeat that? Item does what?
It returns both the key and the value. This is a key,
Oh,
this is a
okay.
value, key, value, key, value. It is items. So that is how a dictionary looks like in Python programming. Now, we'll not talk about a list
So
of.
I have a question. So if you now say dot item like that, does it print the whole of the dictionary?
Yes, ma'am. But what it does is that it creates a tuple out of it. We'll talk about tuple later. It's the items is actually printing out the whole dictionary. But what it does is that it brings each key value pair together like this. So this is a key value pair. This is another key value pair. This is another key value pair. We can easily use these dot items to look through the dictionary. Let's even try to do that. We can oftentimes, when it's time to look through a dictionary, we often use dot items to look through the dictionary. Let's say for var in student print var. Now this is only printing out the keys and it doesn't include the values. Do you get me?
Yeah.
Now, but what if you are interested in both the keys and the value? That is where these dot items can help us solve the problem. So when you say dot items, it returns both the keys and the value. We can now say, let's say something like this. So this var now represents each of these. Var will first be this, then var will be this, then var will be this. So if I'm interested in the keys alone, I can say index 0. If I'm interested in the values alone, then I'll say index 1. So if I'm interested in both the keys and the values, I can now say the key is var index 0 so we have this. The key is age and the value is 10. The key is name and the value is 30. The key is department and the value is computer science. So we can easily use those items if we want to look through it and get the keys and the values. Another thing we can do is that instead of saying index 0 and index 1, we can come here and do something like this. Put two variables here. The first one stands for the key and the second one stands for the value. I can just say k, v. So the first one is the key and the second one is the value. We still have the same result. So let's run it. The key is age and the value is 10. The key is name and the value is 30. The key is department and the value is computer science. Any questions so far?
Yeah, you see, when I'm trying to run my own code and I try to loop, giving the values a particular, like giving it a key, you understand what I'm trying to say? In particular, when I'm renaming it, like looping it,
Okay.
it will always tell me that K is not defined, V is not defined. Like what you just done now, if I'm the one writing this code and I do something like it, always tell me it's not defined. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Maybe you do not put it here. You need to first put it up here. Whatever you put it here is what you can use here. If it's not defined up here, we won't be able to use it here. For instance, let's say I didn't put this V, then this will tell you V is not defined. Name V is not defined. So maybe you used to omit this one. Once it's sitting up here, then we'll be able to use it here. But if it's not sitting here, we won't be able to use it here.
Okay.
So that is how you can loop through a dictionary. But one common data structure that we make use of is a list of dictionaries. That is, a list that contains many dictionaries. Let's see that together. And that's where my next assignment is coming from. So let's say I have a list. This is a list of students. This is a list. Inside this list, I'll just, to make it readable, I'll do this like this. This is the first dictionary I want inside this list. First name is Taye. Last name is Abidapa. So this is the first dictionary in this list. If I say print students index 0, is to print out this list for us. Any question? Sorry, this dictionary for us. Any questions so far?
No question.
Okay. We can have another what's it called? Another lists. So another dictionary in this list. This person can have his name to be Kenny, and the last name can be, let's say, Ajayi. And we have another name there again. Let's say this can be Ido, and the last name can be so these are the three dictionaries in our list. If I say index 0 will print out this. If I say index 1 will print out this. If I say index 2 will print out this. Now let's look to it together. Instead of printing index 0, index 1, index 2, we can say for student in students, print student. So students will represent each of these lists. Do you get it, man?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why we have this. But let's say we are interested in the student's full name. Student full name. I can say my full name is. Now, if I want to get the first name, I can say this student first name. So this is going to print my full name is Taye, then it will print my full name is Kenny, then it will print my full name is Ido. So we have this. So this is going to print my full name is Taye Abidakun. Then it will print my full name is Kenny Ajayi. Then it will print my full name is Ido Akitunde. Did you get it, man?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Got this. Now here is the assignment. When I get to your page, you first welcome me. You're welcome to my school. Do you want to register? So want to register. If I enter 1, that means I want to register. Then you will request for my first name, for my last name, for my email, and for my password. I come again. When I get there, you welcome me. You will request for my first name, my last name, my email, and and my password. Now, after registration, you will ask me again, what do I want to do? If I still want to register another person, I will register another user again. You ask for the first name, last name, email, password. If I want to register another, then when I'm doing it, you tell me, do I want to register or I want to log in? Like, what do I want to do? If I still pick registration, one will be for registration. If I still pick registration, I'll register the first name, the last name, the email, and the password. Please keep in mind, two persons should not have the same email address. That is, if someone tried to use an email address that already exists on our system, that someone has already used, then it shouldn't allow us to. Now, here's the next step. No, one is for registration, then two is for logging in. So let's assume I selected two now. That means I want to log in with one of the registered users. So it will request for my email address and my password. Let's say I use the email address and password of Taye Abidakun. It will tell me Taye Abidakun has logged in successfully. If I use the login details of the second user of Kenny Ajayi, it will tell me Kenny Ajayi has registered successfully, has logged in successfully. If I use that of this third user, it will tell me the name of the user. In this case, Ido Working Today has logged in successfully. Let's stop there. Now, I still wish to advance it much more than that, but let's take it step by step. Let's come again. You welcome me. You will tell me you ask me what I want to do. If I selected one, that's for registration. You will ask me to provide the first name, the last name, the email address, and the password. When I'm done again, it will tell me again to register. If I want to register again, if I select one, it will tell me first to enter the first name, last name. So I can keep registering as much as I want. Now, when it's time for logging in, it will tell me to provide my email address and my password in order to log in. If both of them are correct, then I will log into that user's account. But if they are wrong, then I will not be able to log in. That's the task. Do you need any clarification as regards the assignment?
No.
Okay. Alright.
So, excuse me, for that too, for the login, it will just say, so you are expected to put just email and password to be able to log in. Then it will now say you have logged in successfully.
Yes, it will mention the person's first name and the person's last name, and to now add logged in successfully. So in this case, if I log in with good, you are welcome, sir. So in this case, if I log in with the information of Taye Abidakun to tell me Taye Abidakun logged in successfully. Did you get it? If I log in with information of Kenny Ajayi, it will say Kenny Ajayi logged in successfully. That is the second user, and like that. Now, note, in order you're not going to be confused. You see, once you run the app, at the beginning, there will be no user. All of the time whereby it's asking me, one for registration, two for this, no, like that. It's going to be keeping all of those data. That's why I can use the same data to log in. That's why I can use the data to log in. It's going to be, but as long as it finishes running, once it finishes running, it's going to lose all the data. That's the way it actually works. As long as you need to type Python dictionary.py again, once you need to type it again, it has lost all the previous data. Do you get all the information you entered earlier? All of that will be lost. That's the way it actually. As long as you need to run your file, all of those data initially, since you do not have database, you are not using database, so all of that will be lost. Okay, now that's the first part of today's class. The second part of today's class is the solution to our last assignment. So what I will do is that I will stop recording, then start a new recording for the assignments. so that in case you want to watch just one of them.